My name's Joe Chambers from Skylab Bricks, and this is a setup I like to call Scratch One Star Destroyer. The B-Wing right here has always been my favorite fighter from Star Wars, and it never quite got its due in the Star Wars movies, and that's mostly because of its shape. According to ILM, Industrial Light and Magic, when they tried to film this thing, its wings were so thin that it kind of got lost in the blue screen technology of the time. And so we never really got to see it much beyond, like, you know, the Rebel fleet hyperspacing in to attack the second Death Star. So when I was a kid, I played the X-Wing and TIE Fighter games, and the B-Wing was my absolute favorite to fly. I don't know if you want to know anything about the B-Wing. It is a fighter bomber. It was designed to hit capital ships and large targets. This is actually the UCS Lego set. I think it was discontinued in like 2012, 2013, somewhere around there. So this is all parted out from Bricklink. And some of these parts here, like the cockpit or these, were only made for this set, so they were kind of hard to find. And as per usual, I have Princess Unikitty somewhere in my build for people to find and laugh at.
So you've got 3 of these here, which on its own is an impressive enough feat just to have a fleet of 3 of those. But then as we move through, you've got so much more going on here. So once you had the B-Wings, where did you move on to next?
Actually, the backdrop came first. What I wanted to do was, or the idea I had was a forced perspective scene where it doesn't make much sense if you look at it from the side, but if you look at it from the front, it is telling a story. And it's these 3 B-Wings just finished their strike on that Star Destroyer, and it was obviously successful. So the backdrop here, the way I made this was, Studio actually has a really cool mosaic creator. So I took a picture of the Death Star, I put it through the mosaic creator. I actually made it as small as I could and still have enough detail that you said, oh yeah, that's the Death Star, that's the second Death Star. So that actually drove the size of the rest of this. And when I saw how big it was going to be, I was like, oh no, this is going to be huge.
What are the dimensions of that backdrop?
I think it's about 11 feet wide by 6.5 feet tall-ish. There are 384 of the 16 by 16 Technic bricks in there. I want to say there are around 4,000 of those little black friction pins, which my 5-year-old son was very happy to help me put in place. Good job, Clark.
But then you also have the planet as well, so what does that represent?
That's Endor, or it represents Endor. That is actually a picture of Earth taken from the ISS. I recolored it a lot, so it's more green, less blue. Like I say, I put these through the mosaic maker, and that was it. But that's not how it was. You have to do a lot of post work after that, because I didn't want to sit there and just put 1 by 1 brick or plates in the whole thing. So that was actually pretty the easiest part of it, but also one of the more time-consuming parts. So I, took the picture of Earth, did that, took the picture of the Death Star, did that, put them together on the same build, and then my wife did all the stars. So
there you go, lots of family involvement. I love that.
Yeah. And my brother-in-law helped me build the second Star Destroyer there. So, yeah, lots of family involvement.
So let's take a closer look at the Star Destroyer, starting with the one with the explosion, because that's a great effect there. So what all do we have happening?
Okay, so like I said, you can see it's missing a shield generator. So probably some A-Wings came in, took out the shields. Then the B-Wings came in and did their bombing run. And this is the successful result of that bombing run. So what this is a modification of the UCS Star Destroyer. If you have the UCS Star Destroyer, you'll know what I'm talking about when I say if you sneeze on it, it will fall apart. So this is highly modified. Like I took it apart and redid a whole lot of it. I also got rid of a lot of the plates that have lots of studs, replaced them with tiles, kind of made it more, I want to say look more like the real thing, but look more like the actual Star Destroyer model. And then, of course, just a lot of yellow transparent bricks, backlit by a camera LED device. And unfortunately, as with a lot of my intentions, I ran out of time. I was going to have, fire on where the shield generator used to be. But yeah, I'm really excited how this turned out. Like, I wasn't sure if the flames were going to look any good. I wanted to have another, explosion coming out the bottom. I just ran out of time.
Understandable when you look at this whole massive backdrop.
Yeah, this thing barely fit into my basement, so.
This, of course, is suspended here in front of the large background. What is holding that up there?
Don't tell anybody, but I used aluminum extrusions. And I cut a hole through one of these plates, and it's kind of cantilevered on the back. And yeah, it's just holding. A lot of the internal structure has been totally modified to strengthen it and make sure it doesn't fall apart. So that's actually really strong. Like, I've tried to see how strong it is. These ones I'm worried about because they have fallen apart on me before. So that's why we're not touching them.
So you've got all the fantastic builds here, and yeah, you also have some of these smaller ones as well.
Uh-huh. So these, the Corellian Corvettes, they actually came with the Star Destroyers. Those were like I can add more stuff to this real quick by just throwing them on there. The frigates, LEGO came out with a very limited edition kit of that ship. And of course, it wasn't detailed or accurate enough for me, so I modified the daylights out of it. And you can see, actually, this one was my first modification. Then I made more modifications. So that's closer to the original. This is kind of like my final version of it. Unfortunately, with a lot of these Star Wars things, like all my other stuff that I do is space history related, NASA, Skylab, all that kind of stuff. Those aren't licensed. So I can get away with making instructions and selling them. Not sure what I can do with all this stuff, though. Except show it off, that's all.
So you've got all these massive spaceships, the massive background, but then how did you decide kind of the setup at the convention, and what was that whole process like for you?
So the backdrop here, it comes apart in 6 different columns. I had to borrow my dad's truck and just throw it in the back of there and brought it here. So those columns, they all kind of clip together. The floor is uneven here, so this last one you can see is not fully attached, but it's stable. So there was that. I got this set up, put the Star Destroyer on there, put the flames on there, just stuck these guys here in random places, and so I was trying to find, like, okay, most people are going to look at it from this direction, so I want to make the forced perspective angle anywhere in here, and it turned out okay. If I do say so myself. Yeah. So, and then once I got those in place, I did not touch them. So
was this the extent of all the spaceships you wanted to include? Did you have plans to include any others, and maybe in the future add more? Because I know you've got the big Star Destroyer down there on the ground. Is there any more that you want to include?
So I'm going to modify this Star Destroyer, same as that one. I kind of want to bring it up maybe a couple feet. I want to bring in maybe another Rebel cruiser or two. I don't know. We'll see how this goes. Because I like it, but the voices in my head won't let me stop at this. So we'll see how that goes. I had a lot of fun doing this. Just kind of tired and tired right now.
I'm guessing it's all worth it, though, during these public hours when people walk up and see this, because we see a lot of Star Wars builds at conventions, but the way you've set this up is so unique and unusual with the background, and I love that because it creates like a whole scene and creates a whole world. So much of the time, we'll see an amazing build, but then it just gets lost in the whole convention hall because there's nothing behind it, there's nothing creating a scene, so I love this effect here. So what has the public reaction been like?
They've been very impressed, and I mean, last year when you guys interviewed me, I had my, Skylab launch tower and everything, and I think I maybe sold out and did Star Wars, but no, I've always loved this as well. Lots of positive feedback. I've been the one question I've been asking people is like, okay, so I was trying to go for a force perspective thing. You have the foreground, midground, and background. Was I any successful at that? The answer has been yes. So yeah, it's been really successful. Lots of good feedback. I've enjoyed it a lot. And I have to tell this story. So anyone who knows Star Wars knows that those are the shield generators on top of the conning tower of the Star Destroyer. I had forgotten to take off the second one of the shield generators. And this kid who's probably like 8 or 9 just came by and just goes, it still has both of its shield generators. And I'm like, you're right, it does, you little nerd. If I weren't just like you at your age.
Hey, so that shows they care. It shows how much people care.
Yeah, exactly. And maybe I fear Star Wars fans more than, I don't know, Skylab fans?
No, it's great, though. That's so cool to see, even public involvement with the layout. So I love the way you've set this up here. Thanks for all of your effort building this, putting it together, bringing it out to the show here, and can't wait to see what you do next year here.
Oh, I can't wait to see what kind of psychosis drives me next year, yeah.
Well, thank you so much for your work. Thanks for taking us through everything.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks a lot. This has been real fun.